everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Friday. How are you all? My name is Ivan. I'm the programs manager here at Beyond Baroque. Want to welcome you to the Wanda Coleman Theater. Just so you all know, Beyond Baroque is a place dedicated to the possibilities of language, and we are a nonprofit art space that was founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith. And this place has its roots here in the Venice community. It has not been rooted out, thankfully. And we are 56 years strong. This year we are actually having our annual gala on November 2nd. So you're all welcome to come and support, be fancy with us for one evening, and support future generations of writers. If you are part of an organization, part of even as an individual, independent sponsor, please let us know how you'd like to support, and we'd love to chat after the reading. This year especially, our honorees, we are honoring some legendary heroes of the literary landscape in LA, including Cecil Foster, one of the best poets of place in the last century, Ashaki Jackson, co-editor of The Offing magazine, Douglas Messerly, more of the underground experimental side of the LA literary scene, and the infamous 16 Cervenka and John Doe of the band X, who met here at Beyond Baroque, started their careers as poets and workshop participants, and then the rest was history. They were actually on their farewell tour, so they'll be making a stop at the gala and giving a bit of an acoustic performance. So tickets are on sale if you all want to witness all of that and be part of it. But as we know, Venice is unceded territory. We are on stolen land, and we recognize that this institution is part of that one way or another. But we do recognize that indigenous Tonga peoples are the original stewards of this land, and we recognize that we are also an effect of colonialism, but we are here to also support their communities, give a space, and acknowledge that they are the original stewards of this land. One last thing, also, our calendar is currently packed with events just as cool as this one. We are having the new series of installments where we invite 3 authors to debut new work exclusively for the series. And next week we are hosting Mimi Tempest, who's whirlwind of a poet and is just groundbreaking with a new generation of beat poetry, more punk. They just had their collection released with City Lights, and we actually inaugurated the Wanda Coleman Theater with Mimi. We also have Janet Fitch, prolific fiction writer, poet, and Natalie Shapiro, professor at USC Irvine. But they will all be featuring new work next week, and it's going to be an amazing evening, a really fun evening, because then it is followed by a DJ set, and please invite your friends, and hope to see you here again. But for those of you who also may want to partake in workshops, whether it's fiction or poetry, we're offering free workshops. We're a facilitator, and any participant is welcome to provide feedback on your work. And Monday nights at 8 p.m. on Zoom, Raquel Baker facilitates a fiction workshop. And every Wednesday night, we have a new facilitator. His name is Arthur Kazakian. Yeah. And he is a great poet, and really suggest that you sign up to any of those workshops if you want to hone in on your literary craft.
Wednesdays in person?
Wednesdays are on Zoom as well. Yeah, they're both virtual. And if you want to know more about our in-person workshops, those are paid workshops. Intensives usually happen on Saturday mornings. But all of that info is on our website and our newsletter. So if you'd like to sign up to that, please please do so. We have a list outside. Just lastly, we for tonight, I do want to give a shout out to the Beyond Baroque team for making this event happen, along with everyone else. You all know the team. From our directors, Quentin, Jimmy, to Genesis at the bookstore, and Nick Foreman, and our sound director, Eric Albert, in the booth, will be the hero of the night. Okay, so for tonight, we're really grateful to Nicelle Davis for putting together this lineup and celebration of the language of fractions, her debut, her collection with Moontide Press, and bringing together an amazing lineup. And yeah, just in celebration of her book, I think we're kind of the last stop in this tour that she's been on for the last year for her book. And it's great to know that she's also a longtime Beyond Baroque member of this family. It's an honor to be hosting this with you. So let's welcome her on stage. I do have a few words about you. Nicelle Davis is a California poet, collaborator, and performance artist. Her poetry collections include The Wall Life, In the Circus of You, and Circe. Her poetry film collaborations with Cheryl Gross have been shown across the world. She has taught poetry at Youth for Positive Change, an organization that promotes success for youth in secondary schools, MHA, Volunteers of America and their Homeless Youth Center, Red Hands WITS program, and the AV Migrant Education program. She currently teaches at Night Prep Middle School. So please welcome Nicelle Davis.
I'm so grateful to everyone that is here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I played every single guilt card that I possibly could to get you here, and look at you, you're just beautiful, and I love you. Also, I have to say thank you to the Beyond Baroque team, because this one was difficult. It was kind of this whirlwind of strange mishaps, and they were so gracious and good during the entire construction of this event. So I'm so grateful to Beyond Baroque. I'm going to read 2 poems and then do a full introduction of all the poets who are coming up next, just because I don't want to come up and down again and again. I don't want to take up that much visual space on stage, if that makes sense. And so I'll read 2 poems and then introduce the lineup and kind of give a little love letter to each poet who's going to come up next. And so here we are at Beyond Baroque. Do you know how much I love this smell? There's nothing in the world that smells like Beyond Baroque. I wish we could bottle it and I could spray it whenever I went to a poetry event. And then they would know I was a real poet if I smelled like Beyond Baroque. So if I've mastered anything, it's being awkward. And so it's a really good thing I'm a middle school teacher, because there's nothing more awkward than a middle school kid. And so I have a love letter. So it's love at age 13, the middle school scab eater. I know, we all knew her. We did. But my secret is I loved her. Okay. Love at age 13, the middle school scab eater. Everything about her was recessive. Hair retreating into tight curls, arms holding legs close to chest. She folded into the woven chair like the yes-no notes we agonized over. Tight origami shapes we passed while Coach wrote heavy petting on the board. We hated her. Her child's body and thick lips. Her shins bleeding where she ripped off scabs. Coach, going over the concept of foreplay, explained how the family dog never really loved us, was only after the pleasure of being touched. You have to butter a lady up, was his best attempt at talking about the bodily secretions most of us were wearing an invisible glove. Ew. She was beautiful, and secretly we loved her. her obliviousness. In class, she blew on her open sores, same as the head cheerleader blew on her petal pink nail polish. It was confusing, the separation of love from pleasure. She looked satisfied, harvesting dry red chips, taking herself into her mouth like bread. She didn't notice how even Coach gagged a little when he looked at her. His argument for abstinence, a game of averages. If two people sleep with two people who slept with two people, then we've all slept with your mother and our fathers. We're all carrying something catching within us. So, thanks. I know, I love that girl. She was my favorite. So this is love at age 4. Extinguation, which is, I think, the killing of bugs. So here we go. So love at age 4. It's not the vampires, but the diseases they carry. Lyme, for example, looks a lot like depression, moving from the nervous system to joints, to the heart. No tick actively seeks you out. They can go 2 years without eating, reaching up towards the curved universe, something like a hug. Etymologists call this questing. So much of bug language sounds sexual, engorged to twice its size. I could see the tick in the arm of my preschool friend, and the row of burn marks where his father took a lighter to the kid's skin. Home remedy to burn the body out of the body. He missed and kept missing. His dad had a way of growing dark when drinking. There are ways to love that are larger than sexual. I held my arm to his arm, hoping the tick would come inside me. So thanks guys. So Moontide Press is like an amazing family. Like, I'm so grateful to be a part of it. Language of Fractions is the book that came out with them. And it's basically like looking at, do we love each other wholly, or do we just love each other in parts, like pieces? And I think after being with the Moontide Press family, I know that we love each other wholly in like that spiritual level. Yeah. Woo! So I'm going to introduce you to some of my brothers and sisters in the Moontide family. First up, I hope the poets are paying attention to who you're after. So first up on the docket is Susan Hayden, who is the heart of like the west side of Los Angeles poetry. I think she held us together so well during COVID. So in a time where you thought that there was no place for voice or poetry or love, Susan Hayden is like coming up with inventive ways to keep us together. She runs a literary series called Library Girl, which is kind of life-changing, honestly. And I really, if you haven't gone, you should go to Library Girl. Her book, her baby with Moontide Press is Now You Are a Missing Person. And I think it's been on the best-selling list at Book Soup for like a year, which is amazing. Like it's so deserving of it, though. It's like an amazing book. After Susan, we're going to have Jeremy Raw, who like... I know, who doesn't love him in like this sort of like deep, like tormented way? It's like, we love him. So he's okay. Oh, look at him try to play it cool. That's Brian. Okay, anyway, so Jeremy Raw, another way of loving death is his baby through Moontide Press. He's also an incredible host at Poetry LA. He just had a book come out, which is a collaboration with another poet friend called God is a River Running Down My Palm. Dude, the title is a poem. Yeah, it's an amazing, like, braided group of poems between two poets speaking. It's so good. Next up is Brian Sonia-Wallace, who's trying to play it cool, like he doesn't love Jeremy, but he does. Brian does love Brian too, but he loves Jeremy as well. His baby with Moontide Press is May's Mouth, and he actually has like, if you haven't experienced the Brian, you have to. Like, he does these incredible immersive theater meets poetry spectaculars, and that's not a real word, but I like saying it like that. But he has one tomorrow night in Long Beach. What's the name of the theater?
It's at the Helen Borges Theater, the Long Beach Shakespeare Company.
Okay, there you go. So the Long Beach Shakespeare Company tomorrow at 7? 5, tomorrow at 5. And like, these are truly like, you don't come out of a Brian show the same person. That's a compliment.
Covered in fluids.
Who covered in fluids. A strange surgery. Okay. I have one more last plug, but I'll save it to the end. So Rich Ferguson, oh my gosh, what can I not? Okay, I know. Rich Ferguson is in the building. So this is like directly from his bio, but Pushcart Prize nominated poet, has shared the stage with Patti Smith, Wanda Coleman. And he's also the poet laureate, the Beat Poet Laureate of California. But beyond that, he's like probably the kindest man I've ever met. He's just so generous. Yeah. Yeah, we love Rich Ferguson. And then who else to close the show other than Peggy Dobreer, who is, so her baby with Moontide Press is Lake of Your Bones. She's also in charge of a project called Slow Lightning. And so Slow Lightning, again, is like this sort of community-based poetry thing that like really weaves us together as a community, which is so important. And speaking of community, we have a visual artist in the room. His name is Edwin Vasquez, and he has a solo show. I don't know why I got nervous, and now I don't have a voice. So Edwin Vasquez has a solo show at Avenue 50 tomorrow, and his show is from 3 to 7. So I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to him and his work as well, because I feel like he's part of the family too. So we should make sure that he's included as well. So with that, I'm going to invite Susan up. And Susan, if you want to give like a high five, I love you to Jeremy before he comes up, and we can kind of continue the high five, I love you as we go along. I would really appreciate that. All right. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much, Nicelle. Nicelle, as I said in your birthday card, you are a rare treasure, and you're such a gem in this community, inside and outside of Moontide. I've admired you for so long, and your poetry circus changed my life. And in fact, one of the nights that you did the poetry circus where I read, I ended up going to a party, and Steve was there, and I kissed him. Wow. And the rest is history. So something ignited in me at that circus, and I was just ready for love. Anyway, and also just the lineup of tonight is just, it's a group of poets that I treasure as well, and everyone on this lineup is a community builder, I think, and I love being a part of the Moontide family, and I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you. Happy birthday. Yeah. I'm going to read a piece that I haven't read in a long time. I was thinking about it tonight in the bathroom over there, that this is about a time in my life that was over 35 years ago. It's weird to say that. It's in the book, Now You Are a Missing Person, as you heard, and it's called Her Life as a Sad Country Love Song, and it's in honor, it's dedicated to one of my favorite singer-songwriters who died a few days ago, and you'll probably know who it is right away. Her Life as a Sad Country Love Song. He was a poor man's Chris Christopherson, cowboy style with a 70s edge, wedge of gray beard, voice of gravel, lee jeans, long and lean with a belly, and breath like whiskey, smoke, beer, and dirt, torn Western shirt from the Union Rescue Mission, where he'd stay when it came time for eviction. She was a valley girl in skin and bone, had her own trim line, push-button phone since she was 10, a rich man's daughter in her own mind. Designer clothes charged to credit cards, $5 housefrau dresses from thrift stores, scores of made-to-look worn-out boots, an indication to the world at large that she'd lived some. At the Coronet pub where she would go to write and he would go to drink, she found him one night chain-smoking territons and strumming a nylon string guitar. And she listened at the bar while he sang Beautiful Brown Eyes in her honor. Her boyfriend mixed drinks for a living around the corner at the rain check room. He was a once known, now unknown movie star with a flashy car and a hair-trigger temper. He still had his looks, was well preserved, only with an axe to grind for finding himself permanently out of the loop and relegated to wages. She was a wannabe ingenue of sorts, waitress job as last resort, acting class, the rare audition. She sucked. Everyone told her to quit and be a writer, so she'd sit in dark bars and scribble-scrabble, then head back to the West Hollywood shack, where once she'd had lots of sex turned into no sex with the rain check bartender. They lived this way for years, parallel parked and sometimes intersected, staying out till dawn, sleeping till noon, frequenting local cafes in the late afternoon where they'd scour the want ads, make lists of goals on legal pads, then read them back to each other. Lists of goals made them feel purposeful. Still, she was alone in this world, and she knew it. And the guy with cowboy style at the coronet made her feel less so. He was a Vietnam vet who'd been sprayed with Agent Orange. He was legendary as a barroom fixture and for making scenes, and known for coming clean when he drank, which was always. He was missing a finger that he'd lost in a fight. Under a cracked La Cienega streetlight, he let her touch the stump, then touched her cheek for good measure. He was a limo driver by trade, he said, and invited her to visit him in the parking lot of the Beverly Hills Hotel, where Dave L. kept the stretches. When she appeared the following day, they lay tucked away in an empty limo, and he kissed her. She closed her eyes and pretended that they were in the back seat, not the front. Pretended that she was Barbra Streisand and he was Chris Christopherson in the remake of A Star is Born, singing Lost Inside of You. That night in his friend's Murphy bed, instead of making out, they snuggled, while he drank can after can of old Milwaukee and sang softly in her ear. She could taste the beer and the sweat dripping from his face, and it reminded her of a tired horse after the race or rain drying on a screen door. What's more, his blankets were coarse Salvation Army green. She gave him her headshot upon request, and while they were both still undressed, he gave her a work tape of original songs, mostly about existential longing and destitution. He said he loved her more than his so-called Nashville dream, and that the best and worst memories he'd ever seen were of war. She imagined her life as a sad country love song. She already had the outfit. Long curling ironed hair, ruffled floral dress, and an oversized tiger's eye ring. How she loved to listen to him sing. Hillbilly boogie, honky-tonk, the Bakersfield sound, rockabilly swing. A man who'd drink and come clean, read Horsemanship magazine and practice roping on a plastic supermarket steer. His fledgling career and half-baked heart right out of the pages of a Sam Shepard play, like the one she'd been rehearsing for days in acting class. But the men in most country songs and Western-style plays, the ones that look so good on stage, fall apart from their own sense of rage and that magnetic pull towards doom. Their desert motel room, a prison of whiskey, smoke, beer, and dirt, wedge of gray beard, voice of gravel, Lee jeans, torn Western shirt. That's it. Thank you, and I want to introduce Jeremy Raw, who is incredible. We co-curated, along with Hannah Packman, the tribute to Suzanne Lummis, and they did all the work pretty much. And I'm so happy to see him tonight. He's a brilliant poet. Yay! Yay.
Hi everyone. Thank you for coming here, and thank you for coming here to actually celebrate Nicelle. I actually wanted to start with this one poem because when this poem was kind of like messy and just kind of volatile, I read this to her and still, unfortunately, recorded in a YouTube video. So like it's in this rawest form, it's still there. But I use this poem as like a vehicle in some ways, actually, really to actually get to know Nicelle. You know, it's called "In the Thick Night We Kiss a Flame." Everyone has gone to bed except I keep going out for a cigarette. I see the hotel clerk smoking too. Back at his desk, he talks about his life, reveals his plastic leg. I wish we were sharing a pale whiskey drink and spilling it in between laughs. This is not a boisterous laugh, but one that bandages over wounds, the accident that took his leg. Clean off, he says, but everything that followed is messy. This laugh is a kind of crime we use to blindside tragedy when it takes so much from us. He can't hold rifles anymore either, he says. The accident happened overseas when he was transporting his army buddies to safety. He doesn't mention the attackers. We go for another cigarette. The doctor told him there's a chance his body would reject the plastic. A very high chance. In the middle of us all is a cigarette butt whose flame refuses to die. Despite the repeated stepping out, its smoke rises. Our conversation turned Godward. Neither of us believe, but we like the word miracle. He asks if I know any jokes that he can tell his 11-year-old niece. I tell the dirtiest joke I know, just to be a prick. His laughter is a blood cry. Then, suddenly, as if I were a mother, I pray for the health of a heathen son. Pray for him to find a good woman. But I keep that thought to myself as he talks about how he ended up in prison. I follow to the edge of his story, to the edge of laughter. And this one, I always say, I love this poem in like a weird way because it's so connected with Nicelle. Because she's the one who gave me the title. I got lost and ended up posing as a watermelon in his painting. And this is actually a classic poem. This is written after Paul Cézanne's Still Life with a Watermelon and Pomegranates. I posed for him with all my glee because that's what I was told would attract attention. I polished my impregnable, big rind, my shame-averse skin that even hippos need an iron jaw to break. When I crack a smile, it is chiseled. I am not easily bent on whims or sins. Yes, you could almost say I am happy. Happy enough to grow in my oblong as a tear that cannot drop. But when I see myself painted through his digging eyes, I am blue. Many heavy shades of blue, less a balloon than a dire drag that rings in the nether regions decibel like drums or bass. I grow heavier on the page with each stroke. I pose for him still, letting my rhymes go slightly bestial, slightly dull. I spread like an ever-dipping web that nets the coarser pains. His eyes rope cinder blocks around my ankles, for we have stared each other down into the ripples of nothing upon nothing. If I had a mouth, I would marry my grief to his. Last one. I mean, I was just like talking to Nicelle earlier. I was like, is there like a poem of mine that you haven't seen before? And it was like very hard to choose. So, here it is. This is like a cheating one, right? Like I'm like, you may have seen this. Yeah. First war. I've been thinking about the little wars born out of bigger wars, as if I'm carried by an echo of a cannon. My problem is that I always try to describe peace, even though I've never known it. Marco, the diner's owner, once asked about my sensible car. He said he would like to get one for his son. No crying when that gets banged up, he said, as if I said it. That was 10 years ago. Now he checks up on me while I ask for a refill on my peach Bellini. You know, I would never have come here if you didn't open at 10, I say. I like the vast hint of people before people. Marco is tired. He wants to close the shop for good, take that vacation he's talked about for 10 years. I never asked him if he had a partner. I guess that never mattered. I am not yet at a place where I will look back at this as my last exchange with Marco. Maybe it's too late now. Maybe it was too late before it was late. How does it work for you? He asked. You never had loyalty. I replied, no. I just hopped around because I knew one day I'd be too tired to hop. You see, just last week I became a topping in a certain person's therapy session. The artillery stutter in my teeth, muzzle to muzzle. Marco, what's the blue, you see? It is better that this is what war is not. I was 6 when I knew about the war that made my domicile. I was 18 when I knew that war was termed a police action. Marco, I don't have a war to call my own. I'm still between the ones that made me, still amidst the ones that are making me. As if he doesn't know. His smile, I take in my pocket when I close out my tab. The noon light is quiet as snow outside. Across the street, the bank parking lot has been empty for more than a year. I hope it is a shelter for those too wild to have a home. And I'm supposed to introduce some... Oh, of course, my favorite. Excuse me, okay, this is really... Okay, pass, Lloyd. Poet laureate when it was like the most difficult time to actually really be a poet laureate was during the pandemic, and really held like a community together, and we really love him for it. Please welcome Brian Sonia-Wallace.
We've only got so much time. This is a celebration of Nicelle in 2 turns and a waterfall. This first piece is for you just because I went to Black's Beach, which is a nude beach in San Diego, and I thought about what it would be like to be a sea lion. And I feel like that's the most you thing that I've done in the last couple months. Thursday, I am a sea lion on the California shore, beached and happy. Water fades in the sun to a memory, and we've long since forgotten how brave it is to be naked. Our wet, erotic sleekness whispering hi in a cherry-colored voice. Hi to the sandstone cliffs. Hi to the seaweed which has died crawling its way out of the sea, which is a mouth we have evolved to dive back into, breaking its glitter menace with our wet, laughing hair. Yes, we need air to breathe, but we can hold our breaths a long time. New shit. So I have, this is my Moontide Press book, and this is the book that I wrote because I met a publisher at Nicelle's Poetry Circus back when I was first really getting into poetry, and she welcomed me in and made me a part of this family and this community. And I have her to thank for all of it. So I want to read a little something from the first one and a little something from this one. And the way that I've been doing this, it's been really satisfying, is doing it as a sacred reading practice. And what that means, there's a million traditions, but the one that I really like is you pose a question about something you think will happen in the future. And then we choose a random poem and we see what answers that has for the question. So does anyone have a question that we can start with?
Who win the election?
Oh shit, wait, Peggy has one. What was yours, Peggy?
I was gonna say, how is love gonna show up during the election?
Oh, that's better.
Listen, same question.
But it's a point of view.
That's true. Mike, would you hold out a finger? And just stop me, not yet. Where you would like, but not ready.
Finger as well.
Oh.
Finger it.
I finger enchanted.
Oh shit. Okay, Mike. Well,
See?
Mike.
it's his fault. So the stories behind the poems in this book is they're all poems I wrote for strangers on a typewriter and then have reclaimed and re-edited to appear here in my first year of writing poems for strangers on a typewriter, which was 10 years ago now. First turn. This is I Love You Like a Love Puppet. Marilyn Monroe's got nothing on you. You could tap dance your way from the 40s to Sunset Boulevard before breakfast, eat the credits for a midnight snack. And me, I'll wear your underpants in the shop window. For $1 an hour, just ask. You know I'm not your mannequin girl, though I'm wearing your clothes. Though I've abstracted my features, laughing, dancing, making a fool. No, literally making a fool, crafting one from silly putty and sellotape. Franken fool. Love me, fool. Have me, fool. Freaks and starlets and agents and hopefuls binge at your watering hole in the early afternoon. They're your Pavlovian dogs. I'm already salivating. But please don't get out of bed, not yet. Just ring, ring, ring that bell. So now in sacred reading practice, that mic is really hot. Now in sacred reading practice, we have to talk about it. So Nicelle, who's going to win the election?
She's gonna win. She's gonna win.
She's going to win. She's going to win. How do you know? What said it?
The underwear.
Yeah.
Say no more. I think we can move right along. Let's do one more. What's Jose? What's a question you have for the next year?
Next year.
Yeah.
Will the great one happen?
Oh fuck. All right. So this is May's Mouth, which my tagline is always, it's about kink and death. This is about when my dad died and I moved into Boy Scout. And Sammy, would you do the honors? Ooh. What was the question again, Jose?
Great one.
Which finger did you put your page on, Sammy? Do we know? The right one? Yeah, probably. All right, Jose, this poem's called On Jacking Off to Dead Boys. As a teen, I practiced lying to myself. My moon face stretched and cratered on the schoolyard boys' trophy-hunted girls' kisses, wet and alien. Midnight, my dad'd finally go to bed, and I'd search for rippling bellies and pits like mine, fluffed, just another early 2000s puka-shelled straight boy on a dirty couch, putting out for pay, looking straight into the camera and lying, "It's my first time." We wear our baseball caps low. Don't give our real names. I look the boy up. Learn he died at 25. I've outlived them. The men who taught me desire. Taught me to buy a puka shell necklace, grow a goatee, flee home, any place that smelled like it. I've slept on so many couches, my chest became a cushion. I was raised to be anything a camera asks. I can't stand to be around the same people long enough for them to get to know me. Secrets are my favorite part of myself. Go ahead, call me two-faced. I've got an infinite number of faces. Friends keep giving me houseplants like here. You keep this alive. And I grieve my dad. I wish I could tell him, see, my wounds are working. Not every body has to be a grave. I promised 2 turns, and here's the waterfall. These are, so I have photos on my phone of 8,000 poems I've written for strangers and not revisited over the last decade. These are 10 poems from the beginning of that, around the poetry circus, and 10 poems from the end of it. And we're gonna find a new poem within them. Laying tracks, setting snares for Sonara, for Gabby, a sappy poem for Matt, with the word endlessly, for Kevin, for Jessica. We don't live in the world anymore because after the apocalypse, your dad was an easy baby, heavy metal circles, 4 paws, button nose, for Mahmood, for Tom from Celia, for Les and Patty, for April and Trevor, glowing screens fragment bodies across that soft divide between friend and lover. Stranger is a word we have stricken from our vocabularies. We are all somethings now, divided between distant syllables and warm nights in your arms. Kiss and tell, let's say we met at the milkshake bar. Let's escape lives drawn too thin across cities that do not know our names. I know your name. Granted, I had to swipe first. For Andy, a manifesto for C. Sinnell, Rule the Waves, or remember the first year we wore Napoleon hats, crossed my mind, my path. For Allie, the air is a piano my fingers play. This grotesque body making an evening's soft music with awkward elbows. A nervous laugh. A song cutting through the sunset, through death and rebirth, refusing the humility of aging, the reason we built a pyre to burn past selves, salves. Silly, this isn't your body. This is just one of many bodies. You might even say fractional bodies. This is so many bodies. Gut bacteria, childhood memories of knees skinned on concrete, trees climbed. This is a song you're singing. And the thing about music is, even after it ends, the air echoes. Thank you. Now clean up. Let me introduce the next poet coming to the stage during this cleanup. The next poet coming to the stage is someone I met at the poetry circus. We know him, we love him. He is, shamanic, Talmudic, doesn't leave the stage a mess of papers.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
And, thank you.
Oh, I love you. Here we go.
Please welcome to the stage, Rich Ferguson.
Yeah!
When bullets grew wings that day and flew through school, we thought it was the sound of hammers falling. Bad day to be a child. Printing upper and lower case letters, learning the cycles of the sun and moon and how to take turns. Addition meant putting things together, subtraction, taking things away. Bullet plus body equals blood. Body minus blood equals gone. But don't call us ghosts. Don't think of us in tiny caskets filled with stuffed unicorns and plush puppies forever unnamed. Color us alive where bullets don't fly. A playground filled with monkey bar love children crisscross applesauce beneath a tree, breaking into pieces the words of this big world, sounding them out. Sounding them out. Because the enemy sleeps with eyes open and heart closed. Because our head and hands don't always get along. Because the belly of the beast sometimes resembles the interior of our past apartments. Because there's a wound tied around our finger that won't allow us to forget the broken parts of our past. Because it's hard for arms to embrace shadows, because shadows sometimes wear our bodies better than we do. Because wounds come in all shapes, sizes, and kisses. Because fire is at the heart of our yeses, and yeses don't always survive the rain. Because sometimes the only language we can skywrite in is falling. Because falls don't always follow summers. Because there aren't enough desert winds to eliminate all of sorrow's footsteps, we continue to be that air in search of a clear blue sky. Happy birthday, Nicelle. Thank you.
Oh my, that is lovely energy to step into. Nicelle, I can't think of anybody I'd rather celebrate than you. And anywhere else, I'd rather do it. How beautiful has Beyond Baroque become, more and more so every time I come here. These are 3 poems that share the journey of the language of fractions. And this first one is called the pineal gland, and it's my body part. I could have come in disguise for this pineal poem, gone completely persona for the project, could have dressed as the Eye of Horus or the myth of Genesis, but I am just a tiny organ thought to contain the switch box of our being, our most singular and pre-encoded hormonal delivery depot, lodged mid-center between lobes of brain and matters of the spirit. The cone of the Fibonacci oracle, spouting melatonin, a spiral symmetry named for pine cone, pine apple. There is no right or left to this naked part, no mirrored halves, dual chambers or lobes, only the whole, the continuity of one, and yet also known as third eye, go figure, a singular trinity of unity. Pineal is the only standalone gland there is in the body. What does that mean? Perfectly balanced over a splay of spinal fluid in constant primordial percolation, anexial intersection of interoceptive circuits, our circadian Sherpa, if you will. Rhythmic reveler leading us to our dreams, captain of rest and liminal mystery, busker at the nervous and endocrine system's estuary, a luminous darkness, a denser light matter, keeper of the day's hour, visceroceptive receptor and sexy recycler, the bioconductress of the body's personal astronomical clock. So Descartes
named the pineal the seat of the soul, believing that tiny spirit animals could break from the gates of sleep in a psychedelic wakefulness like lightning when it hits slow in deep sleep. Either way, people give little credence to Descartes anymore, but it does give you something to ponder when you roll over and wake up next to your lover, opening your first and third eye on the day. Thank you. It's Nicelle. It's, and this one was her workshop, which happened about midway through. Always take Nicelle's workshops. There's one coming up on the 18th, ask her about it. And this was to be about the part of the body that scares you now. Hard to believe that these are the same boobies that hid out all through my adolescence. While other girls wrapped their boyfriends' big silver rings with Angora in different colors, my mother carted me to Lieberg's to help boost my eggshell popularity by selecting a training bra. We were of timid beginnings, my breasts and I. What the hell kind of training for breasts could a bra really provide anyway? Have you ever had one that helped anything? How could I have known then what nursing and nuggles from the udder of the mother might mean later for the hanging out of the yoke that carries the same once miniature little titties? And thank you. This one, yeah, it's like I gotta hold them up now. I could tell a story, but it would be rude. This one is just from yesterday, and I want to give a shout out to Rachel Kahn, because the word Dayenu is from one of her poems. It's from the Torah, but Dayenu is a blessing that the way you say it is, oh, I could have done with so much less, is basically what it means, and more like this. So this is 2 nights ago. Invited to sit at the table. A couple who lie on the early skirts of a new marriage bed. A woman who wakes up before her husband to sell jewelry in distant markets in other languages, but not today. Today they cook and offer blessings to their table, light candles and flavor the food with fresh herbs and stories of home before the war. They rise up in food shine, they prepare in joy, ask my daughter and I to join Dayenu. They serve leeks in sesame, beets with mayo and cinnamon, romaine with fresh dill, a clean white fish soaked in garlic, crisp skin stripped and baked to perfection, bone clean and crisp scaled, chicken basted in onions, caramelized slowly all afternoon, and loaves of circular challah with jalapenos to dip in honey, to soak up the sauce from the short ribs with chickpeas softened in a pressurized steam. Dayenu. And a very fine Merlot from a single chalice while we prayed to the tone of his father's Russian syllables slipping over the rim of a snifter to wash down these new yet familiar words for honey cake and walnuts, the taste and texture just the same as Lena's on my tongue. Thank you. Happy birthday, Nicelle, and so great to read with all of you.
10 more, yeah. Okay. No, we have some genius here. So genius Jeremy Raw came up with this idea called pizza. And so we're going to rush our way to like eating pizza right after this. So I want to close out with one last poem and a thank you. I cannot tell you how clean it feels to read and listen. It just feels so clean. I'm always amazed at how much I love poetry. It's really awkward to have people like, I know I set it up this way because I'm that girl, but to be like, and we're celebrating you. And so it's like kind of going back and forth between like the cleanness of listening and reading versus the dirtiness of speaking your words. You know what I mean? But I guess I like being dirty. So as much as I like being clean, but I also love that feeling where it's like, I love poetry more than I love my own voice. I don't know how else to explain that. Like when we're in a place like Beyond Baroque and we hear this like chorus of voices, that's when I feel most alive and grateful to be alive. So I'm just super grateful to everyone being here. Yeah, we did it. We did it. Let's see. Maybe I don't want to read. Let's see. I wanted to read a poem about quarantine, but it doesn't want me to read it. So instead, I'm going to read a poem about herpes. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. This was actually like a big, like this was like one of the biggest like wins for me in the poetry world. I had gotten published by the Beloit Poetry Journal, and I went to go pick up my copy in the middle of AWP, and they're like, "It's the herpes girl!" Like they started screaming it throughout they're like, "She's here! The herpes girl is here!" So this is that poem that wants you to hear it, I guess. And it's dirty. Oh my gosh, it all comes together. Okay. Love at age 25. I wrote you a love letter, but you'll think it's gross. It's not the herpes that cause problems. They I can accept easy as sea monkeys. Like the ad in the Mad magazine says, a biological novelty turned into a reality. I named the pink translucent marks Bob and Wanda, always Bob and Wanda, to avoid any feelings of loss between rejuvenations. This isn't to say I don't notice you layer on sleepwear, incessantly wash, beat an itch like fisting the sting out of a new tattoo, to avoid any contact that chances me catching you. In bed together, we think of how long it has been since the last shock of entrance. Like a ninth grader, you canoe roll over to my side of the mattress. We dry hump like summer camp kids, quite sure, not sure how much better it would feel without clothes on. Nebulous wads of toilet paper appear in the bowl. When I ask where the floor rug has gone, you said it needs washing, accidentally peed on, but we both know it wasn't urine that you onto the carpet with. After weeks of not having sex, the word in syllabus starts to sound like herpes. The other virally stringing you along, just as the slight hope that she may really, really, really love you prompted a midday breakup fuck. For a week, you wrote yours and others' name together, hoping she'd show up like a care package full of cookies. We lie awake together with other between us. I think to myself, how beautiful you are, over and over and over, lipping my own tongue, imagining slimy kiss after slimy kiss. And now we're going to eat pizza. Yeah! Thanks, you guys. Thanks, we did it! So go get pizza and we're going to take a group photo. Huh? Oh yeah, they're coming. Oh, I love. Sorry.